So here we have a JavaScript code that's going to calculate the total amount of money you're going to have after investing 1000. So we call the get compound interest function, and then this is going to calculate the interest by calling the calculate interest function. It's then going to add the money or update the balance by calling the add money function, and then it's going to recursively call the get compound interest function based on the total amount of year we described or we passed as the parameter. So once all of those are done, it's going to return the final compound interest value, and that's going to be our final amount, and we are printing the final amount right here. So if you run this program, we can see that initially we are calculating the investment for 1000 just as described over here, and at the very end we end with the final amount of 1210 right here. And then we also have this logging transaction, which is just logging the transaction we made using this function call right here called log transaction. So it looks good, but if you were to trace the flow of the program using the logs, these text-based logs, it would be very hard for you to figure out the flow of the program. So here is where my tool Kuku VisFlow logger comes into play. We can replace these logs with my custom logger, and then it's going to generate a mermaid diagram for us. So here we have the same code, but we refactored it to replace the console.log with our custom logger instance, which is going to be of type Kuku VisFlow logger manual. And there are a couple of rules we have to follow. The first one is that whenever there's the start of a function, we have to specify it with logger.start and pass in the function name. And whenever we log, we have to the first parameter of that log function is going to be the name of the function itself. Okay, and at the very end of the function we have to specify that it's the end of the function by calling the logger.end function. So that's the only rule that we have to follow, and to actually run the code we have to use the logger.run function and pass the function that we're running as the parameter. So if you run this application, JS, you can see that we get back this syntax, this mermaid syntax, as a response. If we copy this and paste this in any mermaid diagram tool such as this one right here, then we are going to get a beautiful diagram that's going to show us the flow of the program. So let's have a look at what it looks like and what a lot of the symbol means. So we are starting off and we are ending right here. So from the start we are calculating the investment for 1000, and then we calculate the final amount to be 1210, and then we log the transaction and our program ends. So it looks good and it's very easy to follow. If you wanted to check the actual implementations of code, we can follow the dotted arrows. The dotted arrows represent the implementation of a function call, and if you follow this dotted arrow, we know that this is the start of this function call, and from here onwards we can just follow the bold arrows to find the flow of the program. We are checking out we are calculating the interest to be 100, and then we are updating the balance, and ultimately we get our final compound interest as 1200, and we are returning it as the final amount right here. And if you want to look at the implementation of this function call, we can follow this dotted arrow, and we can see that this is a function call to get calculate interest, and it's calculating the interest for 1000, and it's returning back 100. And then the same goes for updated balance. This is a function call whose return value is being used, and we can follow the dotted arrows to go into its implementation and follow the flow. Similarly, we have compound interest is equal to 1200. This is a function call whose implementation can be tracked to here, get compound interest. So they both have the same name, which means that this is a recursive call. And we can see that it also has a bold arrow which we can follow to understand the flow of the program. And just like that, we can kind of visualize what's happening internally. So that's what my tool is really useful for, and you can use this to visualize the flow of your program by adding custom log at strategically placed points. The first step is going to be just finalizing the whole thing and making sure that everything works properly. Thank you guys.